Hello, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be the final installment in my Let's Learn Lenormand Together series. We are going to be doing I'm going to be trying a very beginner level demonstration of one way or a couple of different ways to play around with the grand tableau, something we have been working toward this entire series. Before we get into that though, a little about me in case you're new here. My name is Lisa and I am a tarot content creator, well, tarot divination, oracle, like all the things, content creator here on YouTube. And I am also a tarot deck creator and an author. So I'm trying to get better about talking about my own stuff. So just a quick reminder of what I have out in the world for you to check out. First off, the most exciting announcement is that Sassy Dragons Tarot, the classic family-friendly language edition, and the Not Safe for Work Sweary adult language edition are both out now. They are finally available on my Etsy shop. There'll be a link for that down below. Y'all have been going nuts over these and I so appreciate it. But if you have not seen these yet, essentially this is a deck that I created in collaboration. Well, it's really my wife in a deck. So my wife Peggy is on the box. I'm the supervisor. But essentially the Sassy Dragons Tarot is a classic Rider-Waite-Smith style deck that has been adorably dragonified by our talented artists, Andrew and Christopher. And in addition to the adorable artwork, you will see a meaning on the bottom of every card, and the Not Safe for Work version does have some very colorful language and swears in it, but the classic does not have that. Both have this very sassy, playful interpretation of the tarot, as well as part of that interpretation, you're going to see that sort of sassy, playful bit, and you're also going to see a really succinct but really clear interpretation of every card. So these are available now. We have stock remaining in my Etsy shop, so check that out if you want to scoop yourself up a copy. We do have a discount if you order both at the same time, and I will just let you know, and there's literally no pressure, but just so you know, we have had a lot of people who've gotten one or the other and then later swung back and got the other version. You can mix and match. The backs are different, just to show you. One is day and one is night. So the lighter version is the family friendly, the classic edition, and the darker version is the Not Safe for Work. I've actually trimmed my personal ribbons down just a bit. The ribbons come a little longer, so you can adjust them to your size if you like. But anyways, these are the newest editions. And my original tarot deck I created is the Unicorn's Journey Tarot, which is also in my Etsy shop and is available in both a standard tarot size and this adorable little mini. I do not currently have any plans to reprint the mini. That may change, but I don't think it will. So if you are especially interested in the mini, I would say don't sleep on that, but I do have lots of stock available, so there's no major hurry. I just want to be real with you about that. But this is exciting because I am currently working on the Unicorn's Journey Oracle, which is the companion oracle deck to this, and I do expect that to hit Kickstarter in a month or so, so keep your eyes out for that. But this is a narrative style tarot deck with a main character named Mystic. I won't go on and on, or this is going to take forever. So that's the punchline. And if you don't know by now, you can read all about that down below as well if you head over to the original Kickstarter campaign page or whatever. But I also created a little children's book based on the major arcana journey of that main character Mystic. This is sort of a child-friendly rhyming couplet version of the major arcana portion of Mystic's story that is based on the deck. And I have two other books out. My very first one, The Self-Worth Path, is a 21-step journey into self-worth, covers all sorts of topics like people-pleasing and imposter syndrome and relationship stuff, communication stuff. There's journal prompts throughout, and it's just meant to be really tangible. It's based on my own personal experience doing a lot of self-worth work. It's something I'm really passionate about. This is available on Amazon. You can also ask local booksellers to bring it in for you. And most recently I published, well, I didn't publish, Llewellyn published, Unlocking the Tarot, Create Your Own Keys, which is my beginner-friendly tarot book. And I'm so stinking proud of this. You just have no idea. But this will teach you a keyword method that is meant to help you create a personal bond with the meanings of the cards. So it's not just this memorization technique. It's also like helping you build a strong relationship with the cards. So you can find out more about that and all the goodies down below. Since this is the last video in the Lenormand series, I just want to recap and sort of share a little bit more of my thoughts about this little book, The Cute Little Lenormand by Sarah M. Lyons. I have been talking about this since the beginning and using it as my primary resource throughout this Let's Learn With Me study, in addition to the very talented Donna Leigh De La Rosa's videos, who I have been linking like fastidiously down below because of course her content was how I initially began to get comfortable with Lenormand, and so I highly, highly recommend her content and her channel. But this book has been, of all the Lenormand resources I have found and worked with, This has been my absolute favorite, and it comes with a Lenormand deck, and I haven't been using the Lenormand deck that comes with this. Look, I've spilled coffee on this. I haven't been using the Lenormand deck that comes with this very much throughout this series, so I wanted to remind you of what that looks like because it's actually super stinking cute. And for a deck that comes in a book like this, because it comes in the back in this like little envelope-y thing, so it's not like terribly thick. I'm trying to remember how it was originally in here. I don't remember having to like separate the cards, so there's not that weird perforated thing on the back. And even though it came in a book like this, you would expect it to be really cheap feeling. And I mean, it doesn't feel luxurious, but it has held up remarkably well. I have used it a bunch, and I actually really love the artwork. So I just wanted to share a quick little flip through of that here in the beginning and just reiterate my love for this little deck. And I actually got this set on a discount through, what's it called? Book Outlet, I believe it was. So if you keep your eyes out, you can definitely spot sales, but it's already super affordable. This is one of my favorite things about it, is that instead of having like an extra man and woman card, you just have two people cards, and they are the querent and the partner. But like, look at this adorable artwork. It's very clear. It's easy to know exactly what symbol you're looking at, and the symbols are labeled. You do have the playing card associations, but see, look, there's your person and your querent and partner card. I just thought this was super brilliant. You can pick whichever one. Like, this one is a jacket that has a slightly more feminine appearance, and this one has a slightly more masculine, but they could both be gender neutral, which just makes the deck really simple. There's no extra cards that create additional confusion or muddy the waters. It's super, super straightforward. My only beef that I can remember off the top of my head is that I prefer for the path card or the ways card to have two roads, not just one. That's literally the only thing I've ever had that I can recall as a beef about this particular deck. But I will show you a quick little shuffle so you can see what I mean about the cardstock. Like, you can see how thick it is. And just for comparison, this is probably one of my favorite decks right here. It does not appear to me at a glance to be any thinner or thicker than this little low scare bale, which arguably is on very similar cardstock. So yeah, I mean, you can really see side by side. Like, it's a great little deck. So anyways, the cover price on this book is Canadian $29.99, US $21.99. It's a steal because you get the deck and then you get this amazing book. So that was what all the cards look like. Oh, I was going to do a shuffle test, so let me show you. They're like poker size cards, so about the size of like a regular playing deck. There's good resistance. It doesn't feel squishy or floppy in my hand. Like, it feels like just a standard, like a basic deck of inexpensive playing cards. That's what it feels like. It's not obviously linen or anything like that, but it holds up really nicely. Like, amazing. So good. So anyways, one of my favorite things about this book, just to take you on a quick little tour, is that the first pages here, the end papers, and then one extra page here is a cheat sheet to the entire deck. So I use this all the time when I'm working with Lenormand. I'll just quickly pull this book out, and then I can just use these first couple pages. It will have every card in order, and it has, I think it goes like this. Yeah, it goes like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, etc., right? All the way through to 36. But then it'll have the title of the card and a little grouping of keywords under each one. So it's just the most amazing little cheat sheet. But what's really great is that you get everything you need to learn Lenormand. Now, I've written in mine a little bit. I wrote some of my keywords in here. But you get card entries, and then you also get some really great charts. You get information about the playing card references, which I haven't even dug into that in my own study. You get how to read. So it'll take you through 2 card spreads, 3 card spreads, 9 card tableaus, and so forth and so on. How to read the corners, different types of a 9 card grid, lots of exercises and things to practice. I just cannot recommend this book highly enough. We are going to go to the Grand Tableau section so that we can lay that out here in a minute. And there's a cheat sheet section that I really like. Here it is. Okay, so this section actually shows you a layout of a grand tableau with all the houses. So we're going to be doing that together. And then as well as a little list of where to look in the grand tableau for various types of information. So I really like this section. I should either bookmark it or sorry if this hurts your heart. This book is the binding is a little bit tight. But I should actually either dog ear or put a bookmark in this at this spot. But for now, I think I'll just use this little ribbon thing. It doesn't always work depending on how open the book is. But I mean, little hardcover. It's such a steal. So if you've been curious about Lenormand, I just highly recommend this. Even if the aesthetic of the included deck isn't necessarily your style, it's such a great way to get started. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that. Now, these cards are too big to lay out a whole grand tableau on my table, so I do have to put them away again, which is one of the reasons I haven't used it as much. But on my own, I do use it quite a lot. My favorite little mini deck is actually teeny tiny. It's a little mini. All right, so we are going to be laying out the grand tableau and kind of going through some ways to read it. Now, lucky for me, I got together with my best friend, Danny, and we got out our cards, we set up the cameras, she laid a grand tableau on her side, I laid a grand tableau on my side, we asked each other questions, we bounced around, so it's kind of fresh in my mind that I got a chance to practice this. So I'm going to be laying this out. I'm going to zoom us all the way out, I think. Let's see how much table space I can get here. Oh, quite a bit. So if I move all my stuff, we might even get a little bit more. Put my books and decks to the side. Okay, and my drink, and we'll put this box. Now this one is my favorite sort of the more antique-y style, the Grand Tableau, or sorry, Lenormand decks. It's such a great little find as well. All right, so I'm gonna pull this over here, but then I've got that page marked so that I can reference it. Now a Grand Tableau is where you lay out all 36 cards and you work with that. So I'm going to just share the stuff that seems to work the best for me in that practice that I did with Danny. And again, keep in mind, I am learning this too. I have really put off working with the Grand Tableau like for a long time myself, because I just find it really intimidating to lay out all 36 cards. But one of the things that I have done in the past and would definitely recommend you play around with, especially if you have limited space and or limited time, is that if you have a question or you have a situation where you want to come to a Grand Tableau, shuffle your cards, focus on your question or your situation, lay out your Grand Tableau, take a picture of it with your phone, and then you can scoop the whole thing up right away and come back to it anytime. You can review it over weeks or months if you'd like. I have done that when I've asked big questions. I've laid out a Grand Tableau, taken a picture with my phone, and then just gone back again and again in the days or weeks that followed to sort of take my time unpacking it, going back to it. And it's such a great way to work with such a comprehensive spread, because the Grand Tableau just keeps delivering information after information after information. And while you don't need to dig into all of those layers, it's cool to be able to look back on it and do that. So I'm going to just focus on, gosh, what am I going to focus on? I don't know where it's going to go. So let's do a fake querent. So let's make somebody up. We'll say this person's name is Sean. And Sean wants to know about his relationship with his wife. He might want to know about his job or his career or his business. Let's say he has a small business. So Sean has a small business and he's married, and he may want to check in both business and money matters as well as on his relationship. So let's lay a Grand Tableau. We'll just see what we can find out about Sean and Sean's situation. So let me lay out the cards and we're going to go bit by bit. So there is the Grand Tableau where you lay all the, well, we'll get into that, I guess, as we go. So we're going to lay out 4 rows of 8 cards plus 4 cards at the bottom. And I'm going to lay the cards and then see how close we can get with the zoom, because we may be able to get closer. Now, the way I learned this is that if you find your querent card, which we're going to be looking at the man card for Sean, if you find your querent card in the final row, then I think I've read that a lot of readers will reshuffle. I don't know if that's the case, but that is the method that I learned, because you want to find them somewhere in the middle. You don't want them all the way over here because of the timeline involved. So I'm going to lay this last row of 8, and then we're going to scooch everything for the last 4. Have I not found our man yet? Figures I said that and then he's not going to be here. Okay, I don't love that, but this is a fake querent, so I may actually just move him because he's going to be in the bottom 4 cards. So what I think I'm going to do is pull a random card from my cute little Lenormand. Oh, we've got some glare. Maybe we need to come this way. That might be better. Okay. I'm going to pull a random card from my cute little Lenormand, and whatever card that is, that's the spot we're going to swap with our man card. Because I think typically if I get my significator in either the far right or in the 4 cards that lie underneath, that is likely when I would reshuffle and do it again. But this is not a real querent or a real reading, so we have a little freedom to I'm still going to need to scooch up even higher. So hopefully the glare won't be too bad. Let's move it up a bit. That's the only thing about the Grand Tableau. It's easier when you have a teeny tiny deck, because when you have a teeny tiny deck, you have more room. Okay. There's our man. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't know if you guys can see, but our man is right here. So I'm going to just shuffle this cute little Lenormand, and whatever card I get, unless it's the man, we're going to swap spots with our man card, just to give it that element of random. Okay. So we have mice. Where is mice? Doop doop. There they are. They're up at the top. I don't want them at the top either. So sun. Sun's also at the top. Bear. Where's bear? Bear's right there. Fine. That'll work. So we'll put him. So we're going to swap positions with the bear. Okay. So things to keep in mind about the Grand Tableau. We're going to do some more scooching. Just a bit. Bring this up just a bit more. I know it doesn't have to be perfect. Lisa's being a little bit anal right now. Okay. Okay. So I swapped the man that was here with the bear, which is here. So it's not ideal, but it will work. It's definitely in the middle. So where is, let's put that away. So some things to note. We lay them out in order, all 36 cards. And the way that the Grand Tableau works essentially is that each card is, each position in order is the position or the house of that card. So for example, this is the first position. So it'll be card number, it will be house number 1, rider. 2 would be clover. 3 would be ship. 4 would be house. So this is actually in its own house right now. 5 would be tree. 6 would be clouds. Testing my knowledge here. 7 would be snake. 8 would be coffin, so on and so forth, right? So that's where this comes in handy, because if you have this open in order, you will see all the houses in order. So I'm going to have this off to the side. I don't know if it's, see, this is what I mean. The binding is just, it doesn't want to lay out. It keeps wanting to spring closed. Fine, we'll do that for now. Put my drink on it. Okay, so first things first, we're going to find our querent. We know that he's down here. So the man card, because we're reading for Sean and Sean is a man, we're going to go ahead and pull that card. Now, you don't have to align it with gender. You could have your querent decide that they want, which one they would like you to use for them. You can just say, like, I have there's a lady and a gentleman. It doesn't matter which one would you like me to use to be your significator? Cool. Some decks will have an extra man and woman. As I mentioned, the cute little Lenormand has querent and partner, which is a really great way to handle it. Then you don't even have to worry about it. You can just use querent for your querent and partner for their partner. So we talked about the fact that Sean was going to want to know a little bit about his marriage as well as about his business. So there's a couple things I'm going to notice. Number one, we're going to look at some directionality of the overall tableau based on how I learned and like what I feel like makes sense. So left to right is our timeline of past to future. So wherever your querent is, this column here is where he is. This is going to be the present. Everything here this way is technically the past, other than the significator. More on that in a moment. But typically things to this side is going to be more past oriented, whereas things on this side of him are going to be more future oriented. That's a general way you can look at timelines. From top to bottom, what we're looking at is what is sort of within his control, or kind of does he already have well established, what is under him versus what is sort of over him / on his mind. Now, the thing that is directly beneath him and directly over him in his same column is going to be the most present, both in what he has, you know, control over, what is sort of well in hand versus what might be weighing on him or mentally on his mind at the moment. Like what is the most present mentally, that's going to be in his main column. And so if we look at his line, if we just isolate him, we're going to see this for sort of these 3 cards are going to be what's sort of bearing down on him, his mind. Underneath that is going to be what's within his control. To the left of him are things from his past, and to the right of him are going to be what's coming up in his immediate future. So that's his sort of direct trajectory. Something else we're going to look at is where he is in relation to his partner card. So that's going to be his wife. So we're going to be looking at relationship things and how they are connected to one another that way. What sort of cards do they have to move through to get to each other? How far apart are they? That kind of stuff. And we can do all of that before even getting into houses. So let's take this at surface level first. Let's find out what's going on in his relationship. So number one, I see right away, now we said that he was already married. And what I see, if I look to his wife first and sort of what's going on where she's concerned, if I look to her right, that's going to be sort of her trajectory or her future pattern. We have the broom and the whip. the mountain, the coffin, and the ring. So if I'm looking at those in like a series, as if they're telling a story, we see maybe some patterns repeating, some habits, maybe creating some obstacles, but that's going to be coming to an end, and we're going to see a more committed partnership in her future. So we see maybe some bumps in the road in their relationship that way. And if we go directly up, we can see that what's on his mind where she's concerned. So if we, just like drawing a chart, we go over from her and up from him, we have this card here, the broom and the whip. So what's present in his mind with relationship to his relationship right now might be any bad habits they've been working on, any negative patterns in their relationship. So that's sort of front of mind in their relationship right now. But we can also do this in a different direction. So we go backward from him and down from her, and we also have the anchor. So to me, that tells me that while they're dealing with some problems in their marriage, they're dealing with some hiccups, some habits, some bad patterns they found themselves in, they also have a lot of stability between them. So again, we're looking this way, right? So where do they connect? They connect here at the anchor. Now we'll get into sort of what's individually around each of them, because they have some things in common that are around them, namely the dog and the scythe is where each of we were to put them in the center of a 9-card grid, we have her here, and these are the cards that surround her, and we have him here, and these are the cards that surround him. So the places those two overlap is the scythe and the dog. So we can talk about that too while we're here talking about their relationship. So if we look at just these two cards as the cards that each of their 9 grids have in common, we could look at them as a pairing and say that there's definitely something in the relationship that needs to end or shift, and that is going to create a greater sense of friendship and loyalty, like they're on the same team. And so to me, where I see as the common denominator, and especially because this dog is sort of the connecting point between the man and the whip, and she's closer to the whip than he is. So probably those negative patterns in their relationship may be coming more from her. And again, if you're wondering how I'm getting here to all of this, then you can pause this video at any point and remind yourself about the basic meaning of any of these cards from our previous studies. You can look them up in the book and look at the keywords, but that will help you to kind of understand where I'm getting all of that. But I see overall, if I'm looking at her forward trajectory, as it relates to him, and since his question was about the marriage, we see some bumps in the road, creating some obstacles, but those are going to come to an end. That's the coffin. And then we're going to have that partnership at the end. So a recommitment to the marriage, a stronger lean in. We're not seeing the ring in the past, for example, right? Which might give a different connotation depending on the other surrounding cards. Now, looking forward from him, just in general, actually, let's look backwards first. Backwards for him. So if we look backwards, so yes, things are stable for him right now, especially recently. But just prior to that, it's almost like maybe they were in a more lovey-dovey period of their relationship. So maybe that's why it's on his mind, is that things have moved from that sort of, could be that they moved from the honeymoon phase to something that's a little more settled in. So we moved from the heart to the anchor. That could be what's going on. There's also some stuff in his past that maybe has to do with, we have the snake and the fish. So when I look backward and go a little further, so his relationship stuff was more front on his mind when he asked the question. I'm making him up in my mind, you can tell, right? Because he asked about his relationship first as I presented it to you all. Okay, well, he's going to ask about his relationship, and then he's going to ask about work, and money and stuff. But if I look beyond his more recent concerns about his relationship, we see this concern about money, and it looks like he was dealing with a snake where his money was concerned. So snake is somebody who's going to be deceptive, is going to be shitty, be doing bad things. So it could be that he invested in a bad investment, because the fish, if we look at the directionality here, I'm going to pull these cards up so you can see. The fish are swimming that way, like toward the snake. It's almost like the snake, and the snake is facing the fish. It's almost like the snake was sucking the fish in. So somebody or something was draining his money. So it could be that he had a bad investment, or maybe he put his money where he shouldn't have. And so he's still sort of recovering from that. But then if we look forward, right, we have the book, the tree, and the lily. Now, this is great news, especially from a financial standpoint, I think, because the tree and the lily both speak to long-term growth and maturity. So if this was a bad investment, then these two cards here speak to me to a longer, more beneficial investment, money that's going to grow and expand over time. So if I'm looking at his trajectory money-wise, I'd be like, okay, bad investment in the past, but it looks like you're going to be on the right track going forward. The book indicates knowledge. So he's going to gain some knowledge or some wisdom, or he's going to have learned his lesson from this bad investment, because that book is like learning, knowledge, wisdom, etc. He's going to have learned his lesson from this bad experience or this bad investment, and he's going to be able to invest in something that's going to maybe be a little bit slower to grow. Like maybe this was a little bit of a fast cash thing that didn't work out. This is slow to grow, but reaches maturity. We have that lily for maturity. So that kind of answers the money question. When we look at sort of his central column, what does he feel like he has well in hand? We have the stars card. Now the stars card, I'm going to actually pull it up over here because this is one where I often think of like wishes, dreams, but here the keywords are, let me go to my cheat sheet here for card 16. Let me just remind myself. We have the stars as hope, guidance, wish fulfillment, and dreams coming true. So he's feeling like his life overall is actually pretty good. I feel like that's a positive card. He feels like, well, overall, like he's happy. Overall, things are going well. It's just that he has these concerns that sort of like get in there and, you know, bug him or whatever. On his mind, we have the sun and the broom and the whip. So to me, it's like these relationship things have been top of mind lately. The sun sort of lights up or brings awareness to, a clarity to, or illuminates issues. So the relationship issue, the marriage habit that's been recently uncovered is front of mind for him because it was just brought into the light. It was something maybe they just had a conversation about, so it's recent. And he might be also thinking about something going on with friendship in general. This feels not as relevant to the question, so I don't know how much bearing that has, but the most immediate thing on his mind is around loyalty. We have the dog here, so he might be thinking about loyalty. He might be thinking about like what it means to really stick with your partner through difficulties, that feeling of like, okay, we're not just each other's spouses, we're also each other's best friends, and we need to lean in together. So just some things that I kind of am getting just by looking at this. Okay, so now we're not even looking at houses. We're not worried about that just yet. Now, let's specifically identify his small business. So if this is his central card and this is the 9 grid around him, and this is the 9 grid around his wife, then I like to use the fox as my small business or entrepreneur card. So this would be the 9 grid around the fox. So let's take a look at that and see what's jumping out at me. So the fox has, let me just take a look at what we've got here. We've got mountain, coffin, ring. So up here, we have obstacles ending and a new commitment. So again, just like with his marriage, I feel like where his business is concerned, he's maybe hit some bumps in the road. We did see that snake and fish in the past over here. So it could be that now there's like a rededication to putting more time, energy, and resources into his business in general. If we look at the central line, we have stork, fox, and tower. So the stork to me is a transformative card. It's like we're really transitioning from one way of being or one phase to a new phase. It's very judgment-like in the way that I tend to read it. And so it's like, okay, he's had a recent business transformation and he's going to be moving forward with a new perspective. So the tower is going to give him that shift in perspective. Maybe he's going to be able to look at things in his business with a better big picture view. And then underneath that, we have book, tree, lily, which we've already spoken about. This is going to be knowledge that is going to help him invest in ways that are going to pay off in the long term. So seeing that echoed, and you can start to see where with Lenormand, we start to build meaning on top of meaning on top of meaning. So something else we could do is go, when we're talking about the topic of marriage, not just the topic of the relationship between his wife, but the marriage itself, we can go to the ring and look at the surrounding cards. So we notice that the future, the ring is in the future, but we don't have any cards to the right of it. So we're at this turning point in the relationship where the future is kind of going to be what he's going to make it with his wife. There's a lot of like, we saw a positive trajectory here, we see positive trajectories around him, but the marriage itself is in this open place. Now, this is often going to be the case when you're in the middle of transition, which they clearly are. They're addressing some issues. So what that relationship is going to look like going forward is still sort of being formed. But some things that I've noticed, we have in the top left corner, the child. That could be the playfulness in the relationship has made way for the cross up here. This is above the ring, right? So the child has made way for the cross. So what used to feel very light and easy in the relationship now feels a little bit more weighty. There's a little bit more resting on both of their shoulders as a couple to make this relationship work. That's very common in marriage. It starts out really light and joyful and playful. And then over time, the reality of that kind of commitment sets in and you start to realize these things are work, right? Like they take commitment and choosing each other again and again. And then again, down here, we have the fox, which is that sort of cleverness. It's sort of logic and again, I'm going to say cleverness or not what's what I'm looking for. It's kind of like the street smarts card to me. It's like being wise, but in a savvy kind of way, is going to make way for new perspectives. So whereas in the beginning, maybe it felt like maybe they both were a little overconfident going into the relationship, like, oh, we got this, we're not gonna have any problems. And then they got them and they're like, wait. And so now they've got this issue of like, okay, but now we can see the big picture. We've zoomed out of our like honeymoon phase and we can see that it's gonna take some work. We're gonna have to look at the bigger picture. So again, that's all without taking houses into effect. So now let's go a little bit deeper and let's look at just a single card in relation to its house to answer some questions. So let's first look at the ring. Now, something really cool is that the ring is in the 16th position. So if we were to count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That means that the ring is actually in the house of the stars. And if you remember, if we look down here, the stars are the one thing that he feels like is good in his life. Like these are good. Like this is the thing he has control over, is stars. Stars is down here underneath our querent, underneath Sean. So stars is here and stars is the ring. So despite his worries, what is well in hand and what is good in his life is definitely his marriage. So if I was to just go there, and you might have in your play with the grand tableau, you might want to go to the houses before doing all the other gobbledygook I just did. You might prefer to go, okay, well, wait, let's see what's going on with his business and go to the fox. Well, what house is the fox? I'm going to go over here to look. Third row, second to last position is the house of the mice. So that's going to be card 23. These houses, by the way, are the main reason why it's important to memorize which card is which number. It just makes it quicker. You don't have to refer as quickly. So if I'd have stopped and thought, okay, what card is number 23? I'd have been like, that's mice. This is in the house of the mice. Now that's really interesting because to me, mice are something that create a sense of like worry. They sort of nibble away at things. They sort of eat away at us. And so the business being in the house of the mice, if this is his small business, his entrepreneurship, to me, that tells me that the thing creating stress and anxiety and worry in his life right now is actually his small business. That's the thing that seems to be consuming a lot of his mental bandwidth. That tracks with what we were talking about already. So then we can go, okay, well, if the fox is in the house of the mice, right? Where is the mice card? And we know that it was, I say we know, it's up here. So mice is up here in the house of the clover. Now that's great because we have a card that is normally quite worrisome. This is a worry. We have the mice. They also eat away at something. The mice are just nibbling away, but they're in the house of the clover, which is a little bit of luck, a little bit of positivity. So I feel like that kind of softens the effect of the mice. And again, it reiterates the fact that while there's worry, I don't think that worry is founded. We didn't see the mice in a house that would, I think, underline that, right? We also spoke earlier about paying attention when you notice that a card is in its own house. So for example, if we just quickly count, we'll find out which ones those are. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know this one is 1. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So the only one that's in its own house is the house. So we have the house in the house of the house. That's a very awkward sentence to say out loud. So we have house, which is home, family, stability, where we feel comfortable. And for him, that's all good. Comfort on comfort. Like the home environment is actually pretty good. And that gives us some additional information about his marriage, because while there is a little bit of habits or little niggly things that they're dealing with in their relationship, the stability at home, or the general homeness of things, is still good. It's quite solid. So that's something. What else could we answer here? So let's actually go through that. In the cute little Lenormand book, there's this list. So this is on page 197 if you have the book. And so on 196 you have, I can't read, 156, 157. There we go. Page 157 is the list. Page 156 is where you see the grand tableau all laid out so you can quickly refer for your houses. But if we go over here, you can look to the houses for answers to specific questions. So let me give you an example. So it says the house of the writer, this is coming soon. Well, we know that position 1 is house of the writer and we have the letter. So we could tell our querent Sean that he's going to be getting some information soon, some news, probably an email or a letter, something that's going to come in writing. This could tie into what we saw here with the book, something that's going to help him to make the right investments in his business or make the right changes in his business to contribute to long-term steady growth that's going to mature his business. So that's great. House number 2, this tells us a potential source of luck. Again, we have the mice. And to me, that just tells us that what has been worrying him, which we already know is his business, because his business is in the house of the mice, is not going to turn out to be as bad as he thought, which, great, that corroborates what we were saying before. House number 3, it says, or excuse me, yeah, house number 3, which is the ship. might benefit from movement or distance, and we have the bouquet. This can be a focus on too many grand gestures or big moves. So the bouquet is often like a big positive thing, often a gift of some kind that you're either giving or receiving. So when we're talking about this is something that should have some movement or distance, it's like, let's not worry about big grand gestures, either with your relationship or your business right now. Get some distance from that as a strategy. And then in 4, we have the house. So this is present in your home life or as a source of security. And again, we have home. So home is secure right now. It's good. Next up, we have house number 5. That's the house of the tree. And this is related to your health and growth. And we have the sun. So the sun is bringing things to light that are good for his overall growth. We already know that it's been illuminating some habits in his marriage, some problems that need to be addressed. So yay for that. This is position number 6, the house of the clouds. So this is something creating some confusion or something that's unclear. And we have the ship. So this could be a little bit of car trouble, just creating some issues or annoyances. This could be maybe he has some lack of clarity about whether he should book a vacation soon. So if you had a querent across from you, you could say, hey, is there something about travel that's been creating confusion for you lately, or something about a journey? And then they can give you that feedback, right? This is the 7th position, which is the house of the snake, and we have the child. So this is something that could be dangerous or destructive. This would not be the time to have kids. This is not time for family planning for him, right? They've got some stuff to work out. Let them work through those things, take their time. But I would say if family planning was on the line, I'd say, like, let's pause that for a minute. The 8th position, the house of the coffin, something that may be coming to an end, burdens and trouble. When we see a negative card, like the cross, which is often about heaviness, the things we carry, again, burdens. And we see that in the house of the coffin, meaning it's ending. That's great news. And that actually does corroborate the fact that down here we saw whip and mountain. So these are kind of problematic things coming to an end ahead of the wife, right? So that's great. Position number 9, the house of the bouquet. This is something nice or something you deserve. And we have the birds. And I would say this is going to be communication. So more talking, more communication. This is something that maybe will help in the marriage area, right? Position number 13. Wait, how did we get to house of the birds? Oh, no, that was house of the bouquet. That's right. Okay, house of 10. House of 10. House 10 is the house of the scythe. This is something that might get cut off. This is the writer. So could be that there was going to be a visit or something and it might get cut off. So you can kind of play through. You can do that for the entire list. You just go through this list and you can see answers to all of these questions. This is why I say that Grand Tableau, working with it, especially if you're doing a reading for yourself, take a picture, sit with it over time, go back, review the list. If something comes up, be like, hey, especially if you are shuffling and pulling a Grand Tableau for kind of like a general reading, like a general check-in, you can just kind of keep dipping in and out. Like I could go here and go, hey, I want to know what's going on with my doggos. And then I could go to the dog card and read what's around it, right? You might go, okay, I want to know what's currently my biggest obstacle right now. And you go to that mountain card. What house is that in, right? So the mountain card in this case is in house number 14. And we know that 14 is the fox card. Okay, well, my biggest obstacle right now, in his case, his biggest obstacle right now is his business. The fox is his business, right? We already know that. So one of the cool things about Lenormand, especially in a Grand Tableau, even in a 9 grid, we've done this on camera together before, is that you take your surface level reading, what jumps out at you, what's surrounding those cards, what does that tell you about our current situation? And then you start looking at it in other ways. You start knighting cards or looking at corners or whatever you want to do. And as you do that, you'll start to see the messages just continue to support one another. There's this like, I call it almost like it corroborates itself. It like proves itself. So when we know that the fox is on his mind, the fox is over here in the house of the mice, and then we go look at obstacles. What's his biggest obstacle? It's his business, right? In house number 15, that's the house of the bear, we have the coffin. So if we look here at the at what is ending, because that's what we said. Oh no, that's the other way around. So if we look at the bear, what does it say for bear for 15? So house of the bear, this intimidates you or has authority over you. Things ending can be intimidating for him. So he's really hesitant to see things crumble or walk away. That might be why a small problem in his business or a small problem in his marriage creates extra worry for him and heaviness for him, because he doesn't like things that aren't in his control. He doesn't like to see things end. He's very committed. He wants to see things through. That's something we can learn about him just by examining what's where on the spread. So it's actually really cool. And you can also look at certain things. Like, for example, the 4 cards underneath could form like the foundation for everything else. Danny and I, when we were playing, saw this referred to as, what was it? Like, these are like your, like, more like main, the overall message. So in the Grand Tableau, it says the 4 cards at the very bottom give the overall message of the reading. Alexandra Musrick calls this the line of wisdom. Marcus Katz and Tally Goodwin call these cards the label cards because they give the essential details or characteristic of the image that is the grand tableau. And Raina George refers to them as the finale. Think of them as the moral of the story. So when we're looking at these last four, we are in, let's break it down, right? So the last four positions are going to be 36, 35, 44, 33. So 33 is the key. So the key for Sean is the bear card. Now the bear is going to be taking charge, having authority, being the boss of your own life. So the key for him in general with managing both his marriage and his business is to remember that he gets to decide what he's going to put his energy and how he's going to move forward. So that's the key. Card number 34 is the fish card. And so fish is going to tell us what's going on with his financial world. How's that going? And we have the clover. Again, the clover is that little bit of luck. So despite the worry that is in house 2, the clover, because we have the mice were in house 2, clover, house of the clover. Despite the worry, when we go to his actual money spot on the board, which is position 34, fish is money, we see the clover. So here we have, again, further proof that his worry about his business is unfounded and things are good. It's so cool when you start to see these things and you start to kind of come back again and again. And position number 35, which is not the cross, 35. I always forget which one 35 is. Oh, the anchor. What is stable in his life right now? What is good? His dreams are actually coming true. Both his business and his marriage are actually on the right track. Even though he's feeling the hiccups and the stress of it right now, things are good. We have the stars. Hope, dreams, wishes fulfilled is in the house of the anchor. So his hopes and dreams being fulfilled is stable right now. He's on the right track. And finally, in the house of the cross, which is sort of the maybe the burden or the trouble, we have the key. And so again, where he has trouble, he also already has the key to those burdens, to unpack them, to move through them. He already has the ability to navigate that situation. And we know the answer to this because if we go back to house 33, we had the bear. So the key to his problems is to take authority over his life. See what I mean? It's really, really cool. So something other people like to do is they will read the corners. And so you might look at these two pairs or these two pairs, these two pairs, and these two pairs. So it could be that the letter that's coming soon, because this is in the house of the writer, the letter that's coming soon is going to have to do with whatever has been weighing on him as the burdens. So there might be, interestingly enough, we also see this up above the bird card, communication. We talked about that being something he deserves or that is good for him right now. And we know that one of the burdens has been this burden, which sits over the ring card, the burden of where it comes to the marriage. So maybe he and his wife are going to have exchanged letters, or maybe they could exchange letters, something to think about. We can come down here, we can go snake and bouquet, with bouquet being the second card setting the tone, which is again, maturity, wisdom, kind of get into this place of like goodness and purity again. So we go from toxicity to purity. These couldn't be more diametrically opposed on the board, right? So, or in the reading. And then we can cross them this way and go, letter is going to lead to more maturity and purity or sensuality. If you read the lily like sensuality. And then over here, the snake is connected to the burdens. Yes, a lot of the burdens come from past experiences, past toxic or negative experiences, but those are going to clear. We already know that. So there's lots of different things you can do. And you can also knight cards in the Grand Tableau. So if you want to learn more about anything here that's going on, you can go, what is this related to? And you can kind of look for the knighting card. So for example, let's look at the book, right? What is he going to gain wisdom about that's going to help? He's going to gain wisdom, so we're going to knight this way, and we have the coffin. So he's going to gain some wisdom about what needs to end, what he needs to put to bed so he can have a clear head and move forward. He's going to gain wisdom about the habits. We already know that he's gaining wisdom about the habits in his marriage that are creating some stress. We could go over here and knight it. Things that need to be cut out, things that are a waste of his energy because we knighted it this way. We can knight it this way and go, he's also going to gain some wisdom about that's going to be positive or be lucky or take him in the right direction. You could do this all damn day. Like you could just continue to find things, knight them, surround, like use them as significators and look at the 9 grid around. I think the reason the Grand Tableau is so flexible is because there's all kinds of different things you can do. Now, if you're like me and you get overwhelmed because you could just keep going into layer upon layer upon layer, you might not lay a Grand Tableau for every single reading you want to do. But it's certainly beneficial to lay one and play with it. Give yourself permission to roam around the cards and experience them, play with them. If you want to see more of this kind of thing in real time, Danny and I are planning to talk about and demonstrate and play with grand tableaus in both Lenormand. I'll be working with Lenormand, and Kipper. She'll be working with Kipper. So Kipper's another system that's similar to Lenormand, and this is my copy of the Kipper. This is a rainbow Kipper. Different system, but similar. Also has 36 cards. So we're going to be playing with Kipper and Lenormand grand tableaus in our next live stream, Glitter and Gators, which will be at the end of the month. We typically have our Glitter and Gators live streams on the last Sunday of every month. So you can tune in. That one will be here on my channel, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But keep an eye out. It will be a live stream at around 10 a.m. Pacific time on the last Sunday of this month. And we've already decided we were going to play with grand tableaus. So maybe do some experimenting between now and then. If you see this video right away, do some experimenting on your own between now and then. Maybe just lay out, shuffle your cards and lay out a grand tableau for your own life. Just general, just like you would do a general tarot reading. And then take a picture of it so you can continue to zoom in, zoom out, like play around with it, look it up. Use your tools, use your books to sort of reference. Do the thing where you look at what's around you, what's between you and a significant person in your life. You can play with all of that. Keep in mind, because we can get real hung up on this, that if your deck has just a man and a woman card, pick whichever card you want to represent you energetically in a situation, and pick the other card to represent your significant person you would like to read about. That could be a friend, that could be a relationship, that could be a parent or child, whatever. Child, actually, I would typically use the child card. Parent, I might use the lily card for that maturity or that elder person. But whatever works for you. But decide ahead of time who's going to be who, like who's going to be the man, who's going to be the woman in the reading, or who's going to be the child if there's an actual child you want to be in there. Or you can just use child energy a little bit like the Fool in tarot, like to represent that newness, that playfulness, whatever you want to do. But go in with intent, lay your grand tableau for yourself, take a picture or leave it out on a table for a while and just kind of visit it. Every time you're like, hey, I wonder how blah area of my life is. And then see if you can corroborate it. So to reiterate, the thing I did where I sort of chain reactioned or sort of followed the chain of houses is I would go to an area of life. I want to reiterate this because I think this is a fun way to work with houses without it being so intimidating. As I go, okay, what's the major obstacle in my life right now? And I'm going to go to the house of the mountain. Now the mountain card is 21. I'm going to find card 21. So we're going to go 8, 16, 24, 3, 2, 1, 21. And we have the dog. So the dog is in the house of the mountain. So now this is for Sean. This wasn't for me. So I'd go, okay, Sean, an obstacle in his life might be a friend. He might have gotten bad advice from a friend. That might be where this money situation came from, right? But then I might go, okay, but what's in the house of the dog? What's going on with his friend? So now I'm going to go to house number 18 and look at what's in the house of the friend. So we know 16, 17, 18, the moon, right? So the moon in the Lenormand, I'm going to refer back to my cheat sheet here. The moon as card 32 is emotions, creativity, inspiration, intuition, and the inner self. I also learned this as reputation. So in that system of reputation, which is where my brain first went, I'll say that it could be his friend was overly concerned with his friend's own reputation and maybe gave some bad advice, right? So you can really follow the chain reaction. Then you can go, well, why was he so hung up on reputation? So then let's go over to position 32, which is here. And we have the lily, and you can kind of just keep following these threads. So like, for example, we did that in a couple different examples earlier when we moved to different houses to see what was in that house by kind of just following the train along. I don't know if any of this made sense. I just wanted to show what playing with a grand tableau could look like. This is not, listen, I'm not a Lenormand teacher. I am nowhere near advanced enough to really be saying this is like how to do it. I'm just showing you what I found really fun when Danny and I were practicing and playing, and I've only ever pulled maybe 2 other grand tableaus before Danny and I practiced earlier this week. I've only ever done it once or twice for myself before then. Maybe 3 times at the outside. And I've certainly never read a grand tableau for other people. We'll be playing around with that in Glitter and Gators. But this should give you an idea of kind of what it can be, how you can play with it. And there are so many layers to how you can read a grand tableau. You can go through and read the cards in pairs. You can read them in triplets. You can read every single card and always take its house into consideration whenever you're looking at it. So you wouldn't ever look at, say, the mice in isolation. You'd always be looking at this spot as a combination of mice, clover plus mice, because it's in the house of the clover. So there are so many different ways to read. I would say play. Give yourself permission to just see what makes sense, what jumps out at you, what feels right, what hits your gut as like, this feels like I'm getting good information or good reading out of this. And see what method or methods work for you. I happen to like looking for significators and seeing what's surrounding them. I happen to like looking for the house and then like seeing what's in that house and then going to that card, like going to the house of the coffin after finding the coffin in a different house and like kind of bouncing around. I like that method a lot. So see what makes sense and what works. Think about that general time trajectory of like, these tend to be more forward or future things. These tend to be more past things generally. Just play and see what feels fun and good for you and resonant for you. Thank you all so much. I'm going to pick this up. Thank you all so much for coming along with me for this Let's Learn Lenormand with me. I had a lot of fun doing this series. It's fun to sort of be a student myself as well as to kind of share that journey with you all. It is something I think that when we're content creators, we get a little hung up on always having to like, I don't know, feel like we know a thing before we make content about the thing. And it was a really good exercise for me to give myself permission to be a little messy and to learn along with you guys and to just not feel like I had to have all the answers up front, but rather just kind of show you it in process or me in process. And so I really had a lot of fun doing this. I ended up with a new Lenormand deck because I picked this up because of this series out of the bargain. But I had a lot of fun with this and I hope you did as well. This should be a pretty timeless series so that whenever you're finding it, you can hopefully find some value in it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you especially to my Unicorn Fam channel members. You all are literally the wind beneath my wings. I don't know how I would do any of this stuff without you guys. So thank you for your support as always. For those of you watching, hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, especially if you want to stay up to date with all of the content I make around tarot and divination and all the things. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.